Hi, Justin here from Gel Tactical here. What I'm here today is a short video on how to install the metal lightning blaster gearbox into a CYMA with a nylon box. So one reason why you would look at installing a metal gearbox into the CYMA with the nylon box is while the CYMA metal box is a brilliant box, by going to the metal box it gives you that capability of running bigger springs, bigger motors, a little bit more longevity, a little bit more reliability, because not only is the gearbox metal but all the internals are metal as well. So metal gears, comes with your metal ladder, metal any reverse latch. So essentially by going to this, you're looking at you've got a nice platform to start from with not only the firepower but that reliability as well. Pretty simple job to install the metal lightning blaster gearbox into the CYMA. The tools needed for this job are you're going to need yourself a little hammer. I personally use a hole punch, but some people have used screwdrivers. I would prefer the hole punch. Flat bladed screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, a 2.5mm Allen key, nice set of little pliers, and some glue, preferably something that's shock resistant. For this one I'm using the Gorilla shock resistant glue. So the parts that will be needed to do this upgrade to the lightning blaster from your CYMA, you'll need your lightning gearbox, which comes with a motor. Keeping in mind this motor is quite brilliant for your lighter springs. It's a really good little motor to start off with. You'll need your lightning blaster Tpiece. So in this packet comes your Tpiece as well as your spring. And you'll need the barrel. So the barrel I've chosen for this one is a 3500mm in length. It is a 9mm outer and a 7.4 inner diameter. The good thing about using the slightly smaller inner diameter, it is going to increase your FPS as well as your range as well. You also will need to grab yourself a new battery with a mini Tamiya plug. Seeing how we are going to the lightning metal blaster gearbox, you can either still stick with your 7V or you can increase it to an 11V, seeing how it does have your metal internals. The only other thing you will need to look at by doing this conversion is grabbing yourself a lightning blaster magazine, because your old CYMA mags will not fit anymore. All these parts are now available at Gel Tactical. You're able to find us at geltactical.com. Okay, so now that we've gone through the tools that you need and the parts needed, what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight into doing the conversion on the CYMA Marksman. A little bit later we'll do another video on the CYMA Silverback, but teardown's pretty much the same on them, with just a few slight differences. So the easiest way I found is, first off we'll start by taking your 2.5mm Allen key and just undoing this screw right here. And just put that to the side. So once you got that screw undone, you'll just push, I use the Allen key, and you should be able to just push it straight through and that pin should just come straight out. Once you've got that there, if you just pull forward slightly, you'll feel it catch. Once you feel it catch, if you just slightly pull on your charge handle, it gives it enough clearance to be able to slide that top part of the receiver off. Once you get down to there, next we'll move on to, I will take out your mag release. So using your Phillips head screwdriver, you got a little screw here that just comes undone. So in this screw there'll be a little spring and your actual mag release. And then next step what I'll do is I'll move on to removing the buttstock. On the CYMA Marksman, it's quite easy. There's just one little screw on the back there that will actually allow you to pull the whole buttstock off. So using your flat bladed screwdriver, you'll see that there's a little screw just right there. It'll be a nice long bolt. Once that's removed, I always find it easy just to open the little trap door, just so make sure you don't get all your little wires in the back there caught. And it's just a matter of just removing the stock and just a little collar. So the CYMA Silverback is very similar in the teardown to your Marksman. Few slight differences, the one being the stock, the only one being the stock. So basically you'll want to remove the stock. To do that, if you just pull the little lever down, slide it all the way off. Once you turn it around, so you'll just pull your cord out and you shoot down the buffer tube, you'll see the screw. So using your Phillips head screwdriver, what you want to do is, if you just go straight down the buffer tube, and then just undo that screw. And once you feel the screws undone, if you just slightly just pull on the buffer tube, you should be able to tip it up. And out comes your screw and the little holder for your buffer tube. Your buffer tube will just come off, and same with the collar. Apart from that, the actual teardown of the CYMA, the Silverback, is exactly the same as a Marksman. So what you'll need to do next is there's two little screws right here. They need to come out and they'll gain you access to your motor as well as the wires. So if you just go ahead and undo those ones. Now keeping in mind there's a little base plate here, don't lose that. We're not going to need that one again for when we switch over to the Lightning Blaster motor. So just stick that off to the side. You've got your two wires here, your positive at the front, negative at the rear. With the new gearbox, it's very similar in the way it's been wired. The good thing what they've done is they've actually color coded it as well. So once we get this off, I'll show you the three little holes and I'll explain it a little bit more. So if you just pull the two little tabs off, the motor will come out. If you do find the motor does get stuck and doesn't want to come out, if you just grab a hammer and just give it a little tap on the side, a lot of the times that frees it up and the motor is able to come out with ease. So once you pull that out, there is 4 little screws in here that will need to be undone. And once you've undone those 4, your pistol grip will just slide straight off. Just keeping in mind not to damage the wires on the old gearbox, just in case you want to use it later on. No worries. So now it's off. If you just, you will see there is 3 holes, predominant holes here. So you've got the big hole there with the big opening, that's the one that the shaft will pass through with the pinion gear. Your front hole on this particular blaster will be your positive wire and the rear one is going to be your negative wire. Once you've got it back together, as I was saying before, the new one is all color coded, so it does make it nice and easy for you. So once you get that done, this little pin right here just needs to come out. So as I said earlier on, I like to use a hole punch. I have seen people use screwdrivers, but I prefer the hole punch, just a lot neater, a lot easier. So if you just put the hole punch just on there and just give it a couple little taps, and then using your little set of pliers, you just pull that pin just straight out. Once that pin's actually been removed, you can go ahead and remove the rear pin. For that, you will need your 2.5mm Allen key. And then same as the front receiver, if you just use your Allen key, that pin will just come straight out. Now, a little tip when removing the gearboxes away from the receiver, make sure it's always in safe mode, and it just makes it a lot easier just to remove the gearbox. So push the gearbox forward and you'll sort of lift up and it'll just pop straight out. Now that we've removed the nylon CYMA gearbox, we'll grab our Lightning Blaster metal gearbox and this one should just drop straight in back into the receiver. So with the wire, pop it, you'll see with there is the hole, and then you got your little half circle gap there. Just pop your wire through the half circle gap, making sure your two motor wires go down into the gap right here. And then what you want to do is angle the gearbox up like this, set the trigger in place, and then it's just a matter of just pushing the gearbox down, and that is all good. Now sometimes you will find the pin won't want to go all the way in. Basically what it is the pin just isn't sitting straight. So if you're looking at it from the top view, you'll see the pin's either kicking one side or the other. If you sort of you can use your pliers, or I use a hammer. If you just sort of give it a little tap, it will seat back in place. Once that pin's back in place, you will need your rear pin with the little Allen key grub screw. So basically for the rear receiver, you want the one that's a full circle. Your full circle side will go onto the same side as what your mag release is on. So the actual mag release bit itself. And then you'll turn him over. And grabbing your Allen key and giving it a tight up. Some people like to go really tight with these. I just like to go firm, only for the simple fact of I've had it in the past where they get a little bit of rust on them or a bit of moisture in there, and it makes it too hard to get off. So I've just found I just always go on mine just enough, just slightly, just nip it up, not too tight. Once we've got those two pins back in place, we can go back to putting the pistol grip back on. These keeping in mind the wires. So once you've got the gearbox back in, we will reinstall the pistol grip. Now, as described before, the wires are color coded to tell you what's positive, what's negative. So one other thing you will notice that the previous pistol grip had 4 screws, your new one only has 2. So when reinstalling, if you hold it up, as described before, the red wire will go through the first bigger hole, and the negative wire will go through the rear hole. Once you've got that installed, you'll install the 2 screws. So that's the only real big difference, is there's only 2 screws going back in rather than 4. So once you've got the screws back in, I find it easiest if you just hold the red wire to the front with one finger and use your thumb to hold the negative wire, and then just drop the motor in with the little red on the motor to the front. Now before you start popping them on the tabs, I find it easier that if you just grab just a small pair of pliers and very, very gently, just give them a little bit of a right angle. And then it's just a matter of connecting the tabs to the motor. Keeping in mind to try and, with the motor, with your base plate, it does sit either side of the motor. So when you put the wires back in, just making sure that you keep the wires away from the black part of the motor here, just makes it a lot easier for when you're trying to get the motor and get the motor seated in. So when you're happy with the motor, with the wires, with the way they're sitting, the base plate just goes straight back on and just push down. I find it easier just to put your thumb just right in the middle, and it makes it easier to get the screws back in. So basically the little collar will just go straight on, and then your buttstock will just go straight on after that. And then now comes the semi-tricky bit of popping your screw back in, making sure it lines up to find the little hole. And once you've got it centered, it's just a matter of just doing it straight back up. Okay, so once we've got that done back up, you can just sit that off to the side. So what we're going to look at now is installing the new barrel and your lightning blaster T-piece. So basically what you'll do is grab your T-piece out of your packet. It will also come with a little spring and a T-piece. Now if you want to grab your barrel, take out the packet. So essentially these barrels you will find, I've purposely picked the 9mm because your lightning blasters, they run a 9mm T-piece. So I've purposely picked the barrel that's got the 9mm, but as I was saying before, I've gone to the 7.4 inner diameter, which that's 7.4 mils, meaning it's a tighter fit, which is going to be increase your performance even further. So you will notice they are a little bit of a tight fit. Which is really good because you haven't got to worry about seating issues in there. So what you'll need now is just your glue. As I said before, preferably something that's non-shock because this is taking quite a lot of punishment from your nozzle on your blaster. Anything that's non-shock is going to be a lot better for keeping the barrel in place. So what I find with them is, if you've the little grooves that are in there, I normally tend to pop the glue in there. Give it a nice little coating. Don't worry about going too much because you can always wipe it off what's not needed. Then once you've got the glue in place, just slide in, making sure you'll see in the back of the T-piece there's a little housing that the barrel's pushed all the way back. Once you've got there, you will notice there's a lot of excess. I just give that a bit of a wipe off. And then just sit that to the side for a good couple of hours to set, and that one's good to go. So I've already done this on this receiver. With these, there is a little lug that is here that does need trimming when fitting the new T-piece in the barrel. I've got a spare one here from the Silverback, but the lug is in exactly the same spot as what's in the Marksman. So we do need to trim. It is actually this little lug here that does need to be trimmed. It just needs to be trimmed all the way back. So if you I find just a Stanley knife or a razor blade, just give it a little bit of a trim. Once you've done that, your T-piece and your barrel will sit a lot nicer. What I also like to do is before I put the T-piece into the top part of the receiver, I like to grab the Stanley knife as well and just give the edges of the T-piece a trim up. It will just help it seat just a little bit nicer. So what I do is just grab it and just gently just run the razor blade just around the edges. And once you're happy with how you've got it cleaned up, what you'll do is you'll grab the little spring that come in the packet with the T-piece, just slot straight over the end. Then you'll grab your receiver and just slot it straight in. So what I do is I just don't go, when installing the barrel, I don't go all the way in. I always leave it sticking out just a little bit. This helps with when you're trying to seat the T-piece onto the gearbox, that you can actually maneuver the T-piece in and over the nozzle. Once you've got that done, it's just a matter of, it will slide on. It will get stuck at some point there. If you just pull the charge handle, it'll help you seat it up quite nicely. Now, because we have modified going to a different T-piece and a different T-piece, barrel and gearbox, you may find your pin may not quite fit, help line up with the holes. Easy way to do this is very carefully with the file, you can just give it a little file up. If you do find it is quite a snug fit, don't go hitting it with the hammer because you do run the risk of actually splitting the receiver. But keeping in mind, if you are going to fire a little bit out, don't go too much, because at the end of the day, this little hole here and this little pin joins the top part of the receiver to the bottom part of the receiver. So what you can do is just little bits at a time, and just not too much. Grab your little grub screw. And then grab your Allen key and do up the little grub screw. So this one you can go a little bit tighter on, because it is only a half circle. It is held in place in the front of the receiver. So these one on mine, I always tend to go a little bit too tight, but not to the point where you've actually reefing on them. So just tighten them up just ever so tightly. And the last thing we've got to do is just reinstall the mag release. So if you just grab the piece that looks like a right angle, you'll see a little hole that comes off the front of the gearbox. This just drops straight through that little hole. And the easiest way I find to put these back in place, so put your middle finger just on that one. If you just roll the blaster just straight over and then pull it back towards you, allows you to drop the spring in, and then the top of the mag release. So if you pop that, line the hole up and do that up, and we are now finished. One thing I did forget to mention when installing the Lightning Blaster gearbox into the Marksman, you will need to extend the wires in the buttstock there. You will notice on the original gearbox, they have done that themselves. Because the Lightning Blaster runs a mini Tamiya plug, it's easy to do. Just grab yourself a male and female mini Tamiya plug, and essentially you'll just extend the wires the same distances, and then you will have no problems whatsoever. I've already done it to this one, so I should be able to go ahead and show you a test of what it is, and I will show you the difference between the two magazines. So you will need to, so the existing mag you will not be able to use anymore. That's because we have changed the Tpiece. You will need to go to the Lightning Blaster magazine. So when you hold them up, you will notice that they both have different points of contact for the mag terminals, but they also do have, one has a lip, one doesn't. So once you've got your Lightning Blaster magazine, you can pop it, you'll notice it will slot straight into there. So what we've gone through here today is installing your Lightning Blaster metal gearbox into a CYMA, while also installing the new Tpiece, the new barrel and the motor. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Keeping in mind, all parts that were shown on here today are available on Gel Tactical. If you like this video as well, don't forget to like the Facebook page, and if there's anything else you'd like to see or any other blasters that you'd like to see done, just let us know.